Hi everyone, Bethany here with the Puppy Academy, and welcome to Ask a Puppy Trainer Show. This is episode 67. We've lost Sparky, we've lost the dead weight, so it's all me today. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. He might be like sick at home watching this right now, saying choice words to me. Okay, this is Dusty. He's gonna be my sidekick for the show. He's my older border collie. And so if it's amazing how calm he is, he's actually not calm. If I pull out a ball or anything else or wrestle with him, an amazing switch flips, or give me some sheep or something. But he is an old guy, so he's going to sit here and get spoiled for an hour or half an hour. All right, I'm going to start with Kaylin. Kaylin says, my puppy gets skittish walking in louder areas. It could be parking lots. Is there a way I can get him used to the noise? Yes, Kaylin, I'm going to give you a few tips. Honestly, these tips go for any age of dog, but just understand that I'm going to be way more considerate because it's a puppy, and we'll talk about fear stages a little bit, but I don't have breed. A lot of people will say my puppy and their puppy's 7 months old. Most trainers don't consider that a puppy anymore. That's an adolescent dog, and it's quite different. Okay, but we'll say that this is a puppy under 5-6 months, but you guys can all still take these tips and help with it quite a bit. Okay, first of all, real quick, could be a fear stage. Just to kind of give you an example, I had a client with actually an older adolescent dog, and we think that they were going through their final fear stage because they lived next to a busy road. They worked really hard on this busy road with food and guidance and all that good stuff. And all of a sudden, they walk outside and the dog is really fearful. Not like a little fearful, but like retreating or pushing the forward really, really hard. And they were really confused. It was nothing out of the ordinary. And they were like, oh, no big deal. You know, I'll just work them through it. And then it happened the next day and the next day. And they reached out to me, what is going on? And I said it could be a fear stage. And if it is a fear stage, we don't know a lot about them, but we just know that they happen 2 to 3 times during the first year, sometimes a little longer. But what happens is things, all of a sudden the dog seems more sensitive than they were before. And so anyway, what you're going to do is not push them, actually. This is why age kind of matters too. You don't want to push them. So just in case, Kaylin, it's a fear stage, don't push your puppy. And you can work your puppy at greater distances. So what I told this family, even though their dog was like a year old, is for the next 2 weeks, do not walk on that street, but I don't want them to avoid the street completely. So stay in your neighborhood, and on both sides of the neighborhood, busy road, you're gonna work this. And then when you go down here to the busy road, you're gonna do lots of turns. You're gonna try to do engagement. See, they hadn't used food in a while because it's a year-old dog. I was like, bring the food back out, do several steps back, and like you're going towards the traffic, that's your pressure on, and then you relieve pressure off. And he wouldn't even take food the first few days, but they still did the body language work. And then by day 3, 4, 5, he started taking food, and they would give him a few breaks, meaning they wouldn't walk him like every 3 days. Instead, they would do some work in the backyard, extra work in the backyard, just to continue to relieve pressure. I also had them replay YouTube sounds of traffic again, just to see if that changed his demeanor in the house. It didn't, luckily, but that's another tip you can do. You just want to make sure, if you think your dog might be going through a fear stage, you don't avoid it completely, but you don't push too hard. And so if it's something like maybe a pan, cookie sheets are the worst. You drop a cookie sheet on your floor, there's a big, huge crash, and the puppy is gone in the corner, back in their room, you know, shaking like a leaf. You can't reintroduce the noise right away. You have to do tiny little noises and really build back up their focus and their confidence, and then continue to work on that for the next couple of weeks. Resiliency building is really, really important to me for dogs and puppies. So, Kaylin, are there other ways you can help build this puppy's confidence that's not necessarily directly related to sounds? The least expensive way to do it well, maybe not least expensive, but if you order packages from like Amazon or something, save the boxes, all of the boxes. Take one side of the boxes, fold them down completely so they can walk right into the box and have food scattered. And then another box, just where they can step in. It's not broken down to make easier. And you get your puppy, I don't know, boy or girl, but you get him to the point where over the course of a couple of weeks, he looks forward to his 5 to 10 minutes of box feeding. And by box feeding, I mean you've got all these Amazon boxes around, and some are easier. They're kind of, laid out for him. Others he has to hop into, and he's just dive bombing, excited to get his daily food out of those boxes. And maybe that takes 4 days, 5 minutes twice a day for 2 of the 3 meals that a puppy has. Then why don't you layer on some noises? Why don't you go to YouTube and layer on, you can start in the other room, and I don't know if you have a bass or anything like that, but really watch how loud things need to get before your puppy's like, whoa, what is that? Because that's too high of a noise level. You want your puppy to be successful. So he hears it, but he's still like, I want to do my box exercise. And then you build up being able to turn the noise louder and louder. If you hit, the side of a box, it makes a noise, and that often makes the puppies come out really quick and be like, what was that? And so there's other things you can do to really build noise tolerance. And then when it comes to out in the world, you need more distance. You need to be able to work them more at a distance. And I like to use engagement. So what that looks like is the puppy is on leash. Sorry, I'm just trying to move stuff out of the way. There we go. The puppy is on leash, and you're going to have the food. Maybe they don't even take food, but if you practice it enough in the house, they'll follow your body language by muscle memory, where the dog goes out ahead of you and they're just like, oh my God. And you're just going to go, let's go, or come, or just say the dog's name, whatever you want. And you're going to move backwards a few steps. And this is traditionally the food, if they'll take it. And even if they don't take it, just do this. While you're moving backwards, drawing your dog into you. When they get to you, good. Don't make a big fuss with affection if your dog is fearful. Just go, good. Turn and walk a little bit, and then turn and go back towards the noise distraction again. Work off of dogs behind fences in your neighborhood. Create noises. If something happens, like a neighbor comes out and their door slams, look at your dog. If there's a little bit of work off of that. Like do that backing up 3, 4, 5 steps, engage, good. Maybe feed food, turn and walk, turn and do it again 5 to 10 times. You should repeat that until it's easy, or at least if your dog is really fearful, it won't ever be easy, not for quite some time, but at least do it till there's an improvement of engagement. And yeah, that just about sums it up. That should give you enough to start with, hopefully. Okay, Cassandra says, I have a question for you guys. Well, it's me. Sorry, you don't get Sparky. If you've ever dealt with aggressive dogs, I've got a mini Aussie Shepherd who bites. He's very protective of the house. When someone tries to pet him, he'll bite. Would training work? Cassandra, I don't have age. It's so different with the age of the dog. There are puppies that will do this type of behavior. I'll talk about my family real quick. They live on a farm in Illinois. So it's a completely different world than where I live in LA. And they got a puppy that they decided it's going to be a large breed puppy, like triple the size of Dusty. And it's an outdoor dog. Now, we always had outdoor dogs growing up, but they still had areas like sectioned off, pens. And not this dog. Like, they don't have a drive-through street anymore. Oh, am I not petting you? Oh, there we go. They don't have a drive-through street anymore. And so they decided to just let this puppy be out during the day, in at night. And it's such a calm puppy, unless someone drives up on the property, and then it's bark, 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 bark. Now, this was at 16 weeks old, okay? Now, I recently talked to my family, and I was like, hey, how is, his name is Teddy, how's Teddy's, barking going, and is it any worse? And he's like, yeah, but it's fine. Like, no one's gonna bother him, and he's good with us. And they cultivated that environment for the dog. If you give a dog freedom, if they have the instincts to be protective, then they're going to be like, oh, my parents gave me all of this territory to control. Now, for a farm in Illinois, it's no big deal. When people do come up on the property, they don't reach down and pet the dogs. It's not like here. They don't look at a dog and have to touch it. So people are they know how to behave around animals, if I'm being honest. So they don't bother Teddy, and he barks and then he runs back to the house like, hey, do you see who's here? Because he hates loud trucks and stuff. This is a 16-week-old puppy. And so who knows what he's going to be like in a year. They might be calling me for advice. I don't know. We'll see. But my point is, if you give your puppy freedom of your home, freedom of the yard, then they're going to potentially tap into alert dog or protective dog, because they don't see space the way we do. They see it as territory. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't mean the dog should never be in the yard. That's like a whole nother conversation. I mean, if you're giving your dog or puppy the entire home when you leave the house to go to work for 8 hours, some dogs are fine and some dogs aren't. This dog is not Dusty. He has a room, and we graduated him from crate to room, and he's not protective in a traditional sense, like he's not outwardly barking or anything like that, but he has other things where he watches critters that I have to prevent, and then he gets really amped up. So different dogs will do different things with the freedom that you give them. And so that's the first thing I'd like you to look at is the dog looking outside the window all day, things like that. It's not about, you said, does training work? This is dog psychology. I don't know how old your dog is, so I can't give a lot of training advice. You could let us know if a dog is under 2. Please come back with a question next week and we'll dive deeper into it if your dog is under 2 years old. But either way, I'm going to say you need to get a balanced trainer that understands dog psychology that can help you. And then I'll just say this, Dusty came to us not super comfortable with men, especially men that were like, oh, I want to pet you. Same with kids. So I spent a year, nobody pet him. Nobody touched him. He's my dog. I don't need anybody to touch him. And so we did a little bit of food work. That was later. Like I spent a year and just said, no one's going to touch my dog. I'm going to advocate for him. But every time we see someone who wants to, I'm going to go, oh no, sorry, we're training. And then I'm going to re-engage him and get him to focus on me. And let him know that I'll control the environment. And he naturally got so much calmer. So when we did start to add food in to having guests occasionally and seeing just what his line was, it was easy. I'd already spent a year building trust and taking complete pressure off of him. He was already so much more relaxed that I was able to recently turn him into a ESA and service dog. Of course, it took 6 years, but he was a dog that was uncomfortable with people. He would grumble. He even snapped at a woman one time when my brother was keeping him and let someone touch his face, and he did a bark and snap. And so anyway, I want you to know that there is tons of hope for you, but the people have to change first, and that's what you need to learn about. Okay. All right, I hope that was helpful, Cassandra. It may not have been what you're looking for, but I hope it was helpful. Bert Rooker. This is the
dog's name, Bert. It's one of our students.
Okay, so this is an old student. So the dog is Bert. Okay, the dog says, hello, everyone. So he's, but now this is from the family. This is from Catherine. He started barking at noises at the door or outside and when left alone. Is there something I can do? I have neighbors that are reporting her to the animal department. Boy, that really is what's tough about the city. I normally, if I work in other areas of the country, even calmer cities, there's just a lot of different types of culture in cities. Cities have their own vibe. LA vibe is to complain. But here's the thing. I did used to live next to a family that had several barking beagles out in their backyard, and we moved because of them. It was very challenging. So obviously, there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to owning a dog in a city, because it can be very, very hard for neighbors, especially now so many people work from home. But I will say that it's not easy. Bert, you might have to go back to crate training, Bert. So you might need to add that back into his routine. because again, I kind of just went over this, so maybe tag back to the last question. It's about your dogs kind of seeing space as territory, and if you're gone, they get bored and they're like, I need a job. This is my job. This is a great job. It's very rewarding. It's an adrenaline rush, and then I bark at the mailman and the mailman leaves. Yes, I did my job. It's a very self-serving pattern that dogs get into when you stop crating them in the home. And I do want dogs to be able to be out of crate, but not necessarily have the whole house. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Lots of dogs do great with it. That's not what I'm saying, but a lot of things can also go wrong with it, and a lot of accidents can happen. So I speak from experience, and I'm a dog trainer, so I've got all my stories just like everybody else does of experiences with different dogs. So I would say that maybe go back to that, look at how much freedom, how much affection that he's getting. And affection's not the problem, but if I pet my dog and it's like this pretty much all the time, I always want to be calming to my dog. I don't have to get my dog amped up. I can bring out a toy or something and do that, but I want to be able to control arousal. So I can't have my relationship with touch be mostly or even just too much excitement based. So I like massage, which is slow hands, and even if I'm doing scratchies, I go slow, because if I do this really, really fast, he gets amped up, which is okay occasionally, but it can't be most of your relationship. So when you walk in the door, my dogs, they all come up to the door if they're out, and I'm like, hey, settle down, and I keep walking, and they turn around and they walk back in and they calm down. And then when they've forgotten I've even come through the door, then I can give them calm affection. Like they should melt into it. If it's creating excitement, then you can't influence your dog's arousal, their bad decisions, right? So there's a lot of just baseline relationship stuff that you can think about and try. And then for something a little bit more proactive, the reason I mention this last is because the training often will not work, or it'll just be a band-aid temporarily if you don't do the other stuff that I mentioned. It all works together. There's never one thing. But I would say if you're home, let's see, noises at the door or outside, and when left at home. Okay, so when it comes to the door, let your dog know, I mean, your dog is already barking, so that's already a habit. There's a genetic component to that as well, and it's already a habit that hasn't been curbed. So start to look for moments to interrupt the cycle of arousal. So my dog is sleeping right now, but it looks like, but I think he's also looking at a puppy outside. I could be like, well, he's not anymore, of course, but let's say he is, and his ears are alert, and he's looking at the puppy outside. I could be like, hey, good boy, Dusty, come here, sit, place, good. You look for those moments where the dog is like, what is that? Is that the neighbor? Do I need to do something? Is the mailman coming? I mean, you need to interrupt all of those thoughts and just interrupt that cycle of arousal, redirect to you, and then you might need to give them something else to do. You might need to remove them from the door, do some food work with them if you want to add food back into the mix, if food helps build focus. If it doesn't, then that's another lesson, basically. But you need to interrupt that cycle of arousal somehow. And then if they're already barking, bark, why don't you practice, instead of like no and being just frustrated, why don't you practice like enough, sorry. He's very sensitive to noise. I got fur everywhere. Something, to cut through that barking, and instead of like no, just a really firm like, hey, enough, or all done. I use enough a lot of times. And probably what that'll do is just hopefully get your dog to be like, what are you, did you hear me? And you're like, enough, come here, go to place. You're all done. And have that, instead of a no, don't do this at all. It's like, okay, you've alerted me. Now I'm standing up, come back here, go to place. I will go to the front door, and really take your time and work on each step. Even if the package is long gone, the package delivery is long gone, you can still go through the process. And when your dog starts to bark again, then you can be like, no, move in, you remember spatial pressure, move in, place, good. And when you don't get any barking, piece of food, take a few steps back, open the door. I pretend people are there. Hey, how's it going? Oh, great, thanks. Thanks so much. Bark, bark, bark. Hey, no. Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much. No barking, go back, give food. And repeat these steps to desensitize the process. Okay. Oh, leash. You need a leash. You need a leash on that dog. Okay.
So we have 2 more here, and then we have a couple come in if you have time.
Okay, cool. All right, so Christine says, when is a beagle no longer considered a puppy? Chickadee is 1 year old. Oh, it's just an adolescent dog. So a puppy is really 16 weeks and younger, like 5 months. Some smaller breeds, maybe 6 or 7. There's a maturity line, but by 5, 6, 7, 8 months, they're getting into adolescence, and they just have it's like an adolescent kid. So 13 to 18 is like 6 months to a year and a half, just to kind of give you a rough idea. All right. Very treat motivated. We have, okay, so I was going to try to paraphrase, but let me just read this. Really the only issues we have are her bursts of pinball energy when other dogs or people are near. She's been socialized 10 weeks. We also have a Great Pyrenees, and there's more. Oh, so overly excited with dogs and people. We don't know how to get her to calm down. We usually put her in crate, but we know when this is going to happen. People think we're cruel. We want to use these times as training her. I get so tired of people interfering with my puppy training, and then I feel guilty. Especially considering the breed. So far, everything's been so successful except for this. Have I lost sight of my, initial focus or question? No, you have not. This is all good info. Okay, Christine, your beagle is not a puppy anymore. And socialization, it's so fraught with puppy trainers. It's so fraught with bad information. Yes, you want your dog to be socialized with people and dogs, but nobody teaches not nobody, I'm sorry, I'm generalizing, but what about teaching your puppy how to be calm first, There's a trainer that I won't say who it is, but they did this great video on a puppy being introduced to the kids. And the kids are screaming, and then they start running, and the puppy chases them, and they're screaming some more. I think it's some pug, and it's already jumping all over him, nipping him, and everybody's laughing. And I'm like, okay, if they're local, they're going to be calling me soon, because they're already having their kids just represent craziness. And that's what happens a lot of times. Social does not mean, oh my God. And then you're like, yeah, my puppy is comfortable being pet by crazy excited people. It's like, no. So I'm trying to give you your power back. Okay, Christine? Sorry, we're training. Stop. I can't tell you to stop feeling bad, but stop feeling bad. It is your dog that you get to raise however you see fit. And if you don't want your dog to be seeking out attention, affection, just feeding off of everything around them, then you got to stop letting them interact with every person and dog that wants to. Because you could spend a week. I have a really social German Shepherd. She's a pain in the butt. If I were to give in one time on our local walk, which is why I never do, because I learned the hard way. If I was to give in one time and let her say hi, she'll be looking for the next person for the next week that's going to say hi to her. That's how she is. He's not like that. I don't have to really worry about it. But it's part of their personality when they're super social. And that if you let that happen at all, you don't matter anymore. Or you have to work 3 times as hard to matter. So I want to empower you. It's your dog, and if you want more environmental neutrality, then you have to stop letting the world interact with your dog. But don't avoid the world. I mean, when someone comes up and is like, oh my God, what a nice puppy, just be like, sit, good. Oh, thank you, sit, Good. We're training, see, and you're having to reset your dog because you're talking, or just be like, thank you, and keep moving. Oh my God, I used to have a Beagle. I know. Oh yeah, he's so cute. Sorry, we're training though. And get a little vest. A 1-year-old dog, get a vest that says, dog in training, do not pet. That'll at least shoo away some people. Sorry guys, Instagram. Linking hello at us. Hopefully you guys are still here. So really just kind of think about that if that's something that you can be comfortable with. And don't be here. Don't be beside your dog and be like, oh, sorry, we're training. When people bend over and they're already communicating with your little Beagle, and it's so hard for your Beagle to focus on you. So start moving backwards while you're talking to people. Oh, thanks, we're training, and move back and redirect with food. Or you've got the leash, right? Dusty's on the slip leash. You're like, oh, thanks. Yeah, we're training. And you advocate for him. And that body language tells the human, a lot of times when you do this, oh, thank you, we're training. When you're walking, people like bend back up at the waist and they stop communicating with your dog, with their eyes and their energy. And then practice in the house. No more saying hi. You have to stay in place. You have to be calm. People come in, they say hi to the people first. Now, once your dog can be calm, well, maybe not old man calm, but once your dog can be calm and they've forgotten that people just came in, release the dog to say hi, then put them back in place. That is how you start to help with that kind of stuff. Yes, engage your dog more. Maybe get like a slip leash or something if you don't already have head control, some sort of control over the head. Beagles can be tough. We sometimes use gentle leaders too. But anyway, hopefully that gives you some tips. Okay, Karen says 6-month-old blue heeler, anxiety and fear when I take her to the park. I've taken her places at 8 weeks, but maybe I should have done it tenfold. She's anxious, returning to the car, pulling, not comfortable. She barks at people through the car windows, nipping at people she doesn't know. Whew, I'm counter conditioning, but I feel like I'm not seeing much progress. Sometimes when you counter condition with food and you don't have the arousal in check first, you're too much like in this compromising soft position, when what your dog needs first is for you to be like, hey, I got this, let's go. Nope, come on, moving with me, head up, back, shoulders back, straight, let's go, and just move, and just take control of your environment. Whenever the little ears go up, and they're focused on something. What was that? Let's go, do a turn, lots of direction changes. Go to the park to work the park, not go for a long walk. So what I mean by that is like there's an area of the park and you're just pressure on, like towards the kids area, turn away. Work 50 feet from the kids area where you can barely hear them, then go in again, and maybe you can't even walk around the kids area. Maybe you can only do recalls on a 6-foot leash. Just backing up, engage, walk towards. Backing up, engage with food, walk towards. If your dog will even take food. But you definitely need to continue to work the problem. No, you probably didn't do anything wrong when she was a puppy. Some of this is genetic. Blue heelers are some of the toughest dogs sometimes that you can own as a normal pet dog. I've met some amazing ones on the calmer side. Dusty is definitely a calmer border collie than many of the border collies I've worked with. So he can be like family dog, that comparable. But when they're 6 months old, it's hard to tell sometimes. And they can be very, very difficult. So hang in there. Stop having people. We have a lot of questions on this today. Whew. Go back through and maybe look at the timestamps. I don't know if you can do timestamps anymore with the IG stories, with the reels now. It'll be on YouTube. So on YouTube, you can use the timestamps. And I kind of answered this question in a few different ways, So maybe go back and look at those. I'm not trying to push you off, but I feel like we've had 3 questions like this today. And hopefully that will, yes, you need a smaller world. What an excellent way to put that. You need to make the world about the 2 of you. and just keep trucking at it. I would also suggest maybe a slip leash or a power loop or a figure eight, whatever they call it, which is where you take a slip leash and then you turn it and temporarily put it on the nose. It can be great for guidance and dogs that panic and kind of freak out. Blue Heeler is going to fuss with it, I can tell you that. But anyway, try a few different tools. Slip leash is a great de-escalation tool. Okay, let's answer one of these questions.
We're at time, but we'll do this one fast.
Okay.
2-year-old Poodle is so jealous of the 8-month-old Goldendoodle. Barks in his face to provoke him. Tips to coexist?
Well, it doesn't sound like jealousy. It just sounds like a typical, dogs. Just one trying to provoke the other. I have a 15-year-old multi-pom that still will just run up and bark at Dusty just to get a reaction. It's kind of like siblings. I would say you need more. Make sure you don't pet the dogs at the same time. It continues to build competition. Competition is really common among the two of them. And you just have more boundaries. Like when that happens with Happy, my little dog Happy, and I don't want any play, I don't have to stand up anymore, but I used to always stand up and go, hey, and just step in between them, chill out, and then I can go back and do what I'm doing. But it's that kind of human intervention, body language, hey, knock it off. You step in between them, you push the pushy dog back, wait till they settle for a second, and then you can redirect them to place or somewhere else and just continue to advocate for that other dog. You want to do another one real quick, or are we good? You want to do one over here?
We can do one TikTok. It was is it normal for your dog not to like wearing a collar?
Oh yeah, especially if it wasn't from a really early age, like they should have a collar on and just be getting used to it. Still though, even when I come across dogs that are 6 months old and they've always had collars, they hate collars or harnesses. Shiba Inus are notorious for hating anything restrictive, whether it's a slip leash or a harness, anything. They're so grouchy about it. You just keep moving through. You use food when they're really young to try to get over a hump and keep interrupting the scratching though, or biting it. It's not like some big correction, but it's just like, hey, knock it off, let's go, hey, and really redirect that. Otherwise the habit gets worse and worse. They don't even hardly realize they're doing it. So just keep at it. All right, guys, I'll see you same time, same place next week.